What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sport topic, and today we gonna talk some football, Houston Texans football. But today we got a special guest, man. Who we got in the building today?
Garrick Jones, you know what it is, man.
Already, straight up. The man's hour, man. What's good with you, man?
Man, we just trying to survive, man. Just trying to take it day by day. We eating
I
this
feel
apple
you.
a bite at a time, bro. So you know what it is, man.
It is what it is. We gonna do something a little different. We gonna talk about culture. I've heard plenty of interviews. I know I've had you on this channel before, and I've heard you talk on a lot of other interviews talk about building a culture. And because it seems to me that that's one of the biggest problems with this franchise is that we have a lack of identity. We always want to be somebody else. We always want to be the Pittsburgh Steelers or the New England Patriots or
Right.
the Indianapolis Colts or the Dallas Cowboys. Like, we always want to be somebody else instead of being true to who we are and being original and being the Houston Texans. So
Right.
I know you talk like I said, so I want you to elaborate a little bit more about the culture that you're trying to build.
Well, you have to look at it like this, man. The NFL is a copycat league. So
Right.
if there's any kind of success anywhere, everybody's gonna jump on that bandwagon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, and this is strictly for this push, so GM situation. I'm an outside of the box kind of guy, and everything that I do and everything that I've done up until this point has always been, to the beat of my own drum.
Right.
So when this thing does what it needs to do, you have a level of social proof. And then that's when the floodgates open up. So for me to be a general manager and to be a part of this situation and to be in front of these guys, they'll gravitate toward that. And that's the identity that they will assume when it comes down to being on their field. And I tell people all the time, man, you want somebody like myself in that office because of what I'm doing right now and how I'm doing it. Nobody gives me any type of, the odds are against me and, I can't do this and I can't do that. And I get it because a lot of people don't know any better. A lot of people haven't taken the time out to really learn their background on me. But when I have that opportunity to sit down with each and every one of these players, it's going to be a mentor type situation. It's going to be Big Brother in there. And I'm going to get their minds right because we do have to have that identity. We do have to be able to go out there and smack people in the mouth. And we got to have dogs. That's just what it is. But because of where I came from and what I've done and what I've done on that field, I'm a dog as well. So
Right.
this is the mentality that has to have for this Houston Texan organization. To be able to have guys that can go out there and be alpha males, and at the same time understand that this is one singular role that we're assuming. We got to get a Super Bowl. It's championship
Right.
talk. And that's what I've been consistent with. And, it's been 10 months of content that I've been putting out and that we've been putting out, man. And now you're starting to hear a lot of these guys that everybody's lobbying for talk about culture, because they're watching. I guarantee you they're watching and they're taking a lot of notes because we're thinking outside of the box. And this is what has to be had at this particular time, in the world, man. And we doing what we need to do.
Yeah. So like you said, you've been scouting for the past 10 months, so you know exactly what type of plan that you're ready to put together to help build a championship organization.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, from top to bottom. And it all starts and ends with me. And then from
Right.
there, as far as the actual football operations, I have guys, like I said before, man, that have scouted me, that I have been a part of their organizations or either they coach me or whatever the deal may be. All these guys have come out the woodwork, and these are, Hall of Fame caliber people. So this is something that's going to be monumental when the people really understand what's happening, and then once they get behind it. But wins are going to cure everything. But getting the right people in here, getting the right players on that field that don't care about anything but to win.
Right.
And that's what has to happen, man. Right now, we got a lot of guys who are, whether they got paid or whether they just not that caliber of athlete that needs to be out there. We can do this because even with the salary cap the way it is, and then with it going down to 176 million next year, we're still in good shape. Because if you look at it, taking the guys that are free agents now that will be going into free agency for 2021, it's all about replacing those guys with those guys that are hungry. And with COVID the way it is, COVID has been a reset for a lot of different situations. You take all these practice squads with these teams right now, they got high caliber guys that are supposed to be getting paid right now that are veterans. And those guys are on P squad. So you're able to go get those guys for little next to nothing, put a 1-year agreement in front of them, say, listen, this is what it is this year. You understand what the deal is coming into 2022 when the salary cap recovers. Now we can talk long term, but you got to show up for this year. And
Right.
that right there is a blank slate for everybody in the building. And that's the thing that I love. And people look at how COVID is and how everything is going on. What's going to happen is we're going to construct a team. And when I tell you we're going to construct a team, I've already got them mapped out. And I already understand how we're going to approach these guys in regards to negotiations, the different things that we have that other teams don't have, like a Deshaun Watson, like the situation with being in Texas, all these different things, everything from a negotiation standpoint to an X and O standpoint to a coach scenario, all those different things are covered, man. It's done. It's done.
Yeah.
We just got to get in the room now.
Exactly. And you know what? I didn't even think about that because you brought up a great point because you could. There's always, even though things can be extremely catastrophic and things can be bad, you can always find a silver lining in almost everything.
Absolutely.
And one thing I did not think about is because you do got because the cap situation that this team is already going to be in the anyway, even if this is a normal cap year, because you got to do some things to help save some of these numbers down, which I think a lot of people overblow because I think it is done if you have the right people in place, you can do it. But you're going to be a situation because of the league in the whole, because of the whole COVID situation, that you're going to have guys who would normally be, I don't know, I'll just throw a number out there, normally a $10 to $15 million player a year will have to settle for a 1 year, $5 million deal just because of the salary cap situation, period, across the board because of the COVID situation. So it actually everybody gets to come back to the means. Everybody gets to come back to a middle ground because you're going to get quality players on a cheaper rate because of this whole pandemic. And now, like you say, hey, you do this for 1 year, when you get to the end of this road, you got a huge payday ahead of you. But you got to do what I know you can do. Right. And that right there, and some people, now you got some, and that's also how you could tell a dog from a puppy, because you got them dogs that take that challenge like bet. Like, case in point, Honey Badger 2 years ago, he took that challenge head on with Houston, took the little small deal, and got that big payday in Kansas City. Now he's a champion. Right. Like you also got some people who want to run from that and try to do other things, and then okay, you're not really the type of guy we trying to build around anyway.
Absolutely. So let's just take the Honey Badger. You hit it right on the head. He had the opportunity to come here, do the work, and can either get paid here or go somewhere else and get paid. So as a player, your objective is to get as much money as you can, up front and as possible, because your career is already dwindling. You got a short window. You got a really small window as a player. It's the NFL, man. It's not for long. So with me being a former player, when it comes down to negotiations, I'm talking their language. I am them. And we're going to get down and we're going to talk about it for the simple fact that we say, listen, this is the culture, this is the objectives, and this is the bottom line. The bottom line is the Super Bowl. So with this 1 year situation, you can get your money, but we go and we do what we need to do running into 2022, and we do a long-term deal and we go get this championship. I'm going to show you how to get paid for the rest of your life.
Right.
Those are the things that none of these guys are going to be able to talk to these boys about, but I can, and I can address those at these meetings. I can go to the hood and talk to these guys. All these different things. You got to understand what you're dealing with. And that's what a lot of people don't at this particular point, because even though I put the information out there, they're still not going and reading. They're still not doing the work to figure out who I am. It's really easy to hop on a comment board and a message board and just down me. It's real easy. But I challenge people. Hey, listen, I put everything on that petition. All of my interviews, you got 10 months worth of content, worth of interviews. And now they're still not going. So I automatically know, and it's the same situation what you're saying with those guys that are on the field that don't have that dog in them. I know who I can win with and who I can't win with when it comes down to that. So people will tell you, and people will hire and fire themselves when it comes down to this NFL. If you're not doing the work and not doing the job, and you come in and get a 1 year deal, how am I going to justify giving you a long-term contract unless I'm just your homeboy? And it don't work like that. This is business. And people tend to forget that this is a business. And when it comes down to business, dog, I eat, period. And people got to understand that this is what I do each and every day.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know exactly what you mean about, especially going back and forth and
Yeah.
message boards in the comment section. So they're going back. And sometimes you guys, I like to say, you gotta let ignorance be ignorance,
Right.
because it is easy for somebody to sit on their couch and on their phone and
Yeah.
tell you 110 ways of why you're not the right person for the job, and then somebody else who, just because they've been around,
Right.
not even done anything, but just they've been around. They went and got some coffee for somebody to build a championship. They
Right.
didn't build a championship. They just went and pulled the cards for him, like, say, here, Mr. Guy, here's your coffee, Mr. Belichick. And all of it, they think like some fairy dust or some championship juice and dripped on them, and now they go out and build a
Right.
championship. It don't work like that. I want to hear somebody's plan. Look, give me what you. I want to know what you thinking in your head, what
Mm.
you saying, and if what you saying makes sense to me, or you just know somebody who knew somebody. Because I
Right.
know a lot of people in this business have gotten jobs because of that. Because
Right.
it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I
Right.
believe to build an actual champion, because that's how you have a lot of busts in the NFL. That's how you have a lot of guys get fired, because they didn't know what they were doing. They were just
Right.
piggybacking off of somebody else's success. I want to know what you know, not what they know. I already know what they know. They prove they got championships. They proven what they've done. I want to know exactly what you can do.
Spence, I tell you this, man. The beautiful thing about where we are, and people look at it as dismal. We don't have the high draft picks. We don't have yada yada yada. We're 4-10 or whatever. It's beautiful because, like I say, when it comes down to the draft, you want to find value in those later round picks. When you find that value in those later round picks, those guys have chips on their shoulders. Those guys are going to come in with a point to prove. Those guys are going to come in because they know they have to put in the work. Those guys are going to come in and be what you need to be able to build around them. They're going to be solid individuals who are going to contribute to a solid group. And then once you bring in, which we already have, some guys that can tote the note when it comes down to be star athletes and elite athletes, you bring in a few more of those established veterans that have been there, done that can come in and really teach and mentor on that field. We're gonna be all right, man. I'm excited about the draft, because what that does is it really shows if the group that you have can really make it happen without high round draft picks. Because realistically, your draft picks are going to be able to bring in, these young guys who are eventually going to be better than the guys that are in front of them right now. But what we have to do is we have to get creative. We have to understand what we have in the room, which on the team right now, man, we got some athletes. We got some real guys that can go do it. It's just a mindset change that they need. Once they get that, we bring a few free agents in, which, we got a pretty nice little list of guys that we've been kind of looking at, and I've been looking at, and I know those guys can step in, because I know a lot of these guys personally. I know their people. I know their agents, which makes it a lot easier to say, hey, man, come on, this is what we're doing. You see it. You've been watching it. This is the environment that we're going to have. This is the habitat, and this is the situation that we're going to have that's going to breed this championship culture around here in Houston, man, because we need it. The city has to have it. And if they're not living it, breathing it, eating it, and you bring somebody in that does not feel like that, this is just a bump in the road for them. They're going to stop. And then if they don't make it happen, they're going to go to another team. You see it all the time. And that's what I'm telling people. Don't fall in love with the names. Fall in love with the actual progress itself. This ain't
Right.
about popularity. This is about progress, Doc. This
Yeah.
is a way of life around here for me. So it is what it is.
I mean, a lot of people can get overblown with names, because it's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's a name. It's
It's a
something that you've
name.
heard. It sounds good because you've
Yeah.
heard this name being talked about, and a lot of times, a lot of people get drafted. A lot of people get hired. A lot of people get signed because people on TV talk them up, and people start believing what other people are saying. And to be honest, I think, the draft itself could actually be another blessing in disguise, because if you look at the Hall of Fame,
Right.
if you look
Yep.
at the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame is full of low round guys.
I know you exactly.
It's
Man,
full,
you
it's
hit it.
full of
You
it's,
hit
it's
it.
full of it's full of low round guys or undrafted free agents. It's not that many. Contrary to what you believe, it's not that many first round draft pick, top 5 draft picks, number 1 overall draft picks in the Hall of Fame. Don't get
Right.
me wrong, there is some, and there's
Yeah.
plenty of them. but that's what not make the Hall of Fame. That's what not makes up a championship team. You go look at a championship team. Go look at a championship team. It's not filled with first round draft picks. They got some. Yeah,
Right.
the best player on the team might have been a first round draft pick, but
Right.
the heart and soul of that team be them low round guys or the undrafted guys, them guys that get out the mud. Like I say, you gotta have a dog. I don't care what nobody say. You not winning no championship in no sport: basketball, football, soccer, baseball, college football, college basketball, without no dogs on that court, on that field. And that's just point blank. Period.
Listen, hey, and to that point, if you have a team full of dogs, I'm talking about boy dogs, alpha males, they go out there and they're not taking anything from anybody. What do you think you're going to have if you have a head coach that's a dog? What do you think you're going to have if you have a GM that's a dog?
That smells dynasty to me.
That's a dynasty.
That's a dynasty to me.
You know what I'm saying? You just said it. So that's what people got to understand. When I played, the general managers and upper management, I really couldn't relate to them because they didn't look like me. They weren't from the same areas as I was. So there was a disconnect right off the bat. So there was a lot of extra intentional communication that had to happen, which that's going to happen in my regime. We're going to learn how to communicate across the board. But the things that I would bring to the table is not only being a player, but also being cut from the cloth of these players and also being able to go in those boardrooms and hold my own. I have never backed away from anything in negotiations. Every contract my name has been on, I have been part of that negotiation. And then I have consulted other players in on the 8 different teams that I've been on. And then even after that, you see what I'm saying? So I have studied this. I had on-the-job training, all these different general managers. I understood coming in the NFL and the CFL the way I did, you'd have a guy that they would pay $20 million and they might have paid me $20,000. I might have been better than that guy, but because they paid him, he's going to play. So once I figured out that it was politics over playing time, I shifted my mindset and said, all right, how can I win off the field in order to stay here? If I'm not going to be able to go out there on the field, I'm not going to stay. So with that being said, that's when I started shadowing all of these GMs. That's when I started talking to the scouts. That's when I started learning how to scout, all those different things. So you think about the years that I spent in the NFL and CFL and around all these other leagues, I was doing that. That was on-the-job training. Then when I was done, I created my own league because I knew that there was nobody that looked like me that was a general manager. So it had to be outside of the box because these guys were spending 10, 15, 20, 30 years with an organization, and they were in the same spots. So I said, you know what? We got to be outside of the box with this one. And this is the reason why I raised my hand right now. So we're in a good spot, man. All we need is to get in the door, and I'll do the rest.
Because like there's a lot of misconception. I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to the draft, the Texans ain't got no draft picks. That's wrong. The Texans have draft picks. Now they don't have premium picks. They don't have a first and a second, but there's 7 rounds in the draft. We have 8 picks. So we have enough picks, but we have enough picks to draft in every round. We just don't have picks in the first 2 rounds. We have multiple 4s and multiple 5s and things like that. So now they're not premium picks. And don't get me wrong, everybody wants the pick of the litter. So everybody wants the highest pick so they be able to choose. But at the end of the day, that only gives you the opportunity to be the first one to pick. You still have to make the right. You still have to make the right decision. You can have the first 10 picks, but if you pick wrong the first 10 times, that doesn't do you any good. So it's all about who you pick and how you pick in the process that you have. And you have to have a plan. With everything you do, you have to have a plan. My thing going forward is the plan has to be in the best interest of number 4. When that comes to coaching hires, that comes to free agent hires, that comes to draft picks, that comes to trades, that comes to signings, that comes to everything that goes on. Is this or is this not in the best interest of number 4? Because I believe once you get once that guy's in place, he's able to make the right. Because I think the first right move is obviously hiring the right head coach, and then letting that head coach hiring the right coaching staff. And I believe if you get the right guy to pull that trigger, he's going to do the right thing of hiring offensive line coach, offensive coordinator, defensive line coach, receiver coach, quarterback coach, whatever the case may be. And once you start building that process and start building that culture, then you go on to the free agency market. Then you go on to the draft market. Then you go on to the undrafted free agents and things like that. And it's all a plan, but the plan has to start off right first.
Right. It's all about that leadership. It's just like, going back to what you say, just to segue off of that, I can have, all these first round draft picks, but if the culture is toxic, I'll ruin those guys' career. And you got to understand this too. A lot of these guys, when they're coming up, they've always been good. They've always been the best. Mm-hmm. So if their mindset isn't where it needs to be, but they are stellar athletes, they've been coddled. You know what I'm saying? They've been handicapped in such a way to where by the time they get to the pros, now it's an astronomical amount of different things that you have to work on. So if you're not a strong enough leader to be able to corral a lot of that and get the best out of that athlete, you've just wasted that pick. So for me, and for what we have right now, to get guys out of the later rounds, it's better because they're coming in hungry. And we want a nice mixture of guys that are hungry, and we want a nice mixture of guys who have won championships at any point in their career to be able to show us how to go do it. So you take a Deshaun Watson. He's won a championship. You take all these other guys that have won championships in college. We're going to be able to get those guys in the building. I promise you that. And what happens is now you got all this hunger, and you got all these guys that have some championship in them, and they understand the dynamic of what needs to go on, and that culture's there. You can't help but win this thing. This isn't rocket science, man. People are so hell-bent on making this thing so tough and so trying as far as in regards to, okay, this number here and analytics and this. Nah, you line up over there, I line up over here, and I'm going to beat you to death. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to beat the brakes off you this game. And it's all about winning your rep. As long as we guys got guys that are going out there and winning their reps, we're going to get the W. And at the same time, as long as you have people in those front office seats and in that front office aspect that are fighting for the athletes on the field and fighting for the fans and fighting for the organization, dynasty, period. And that's what we have to have. Like I say, anything other than that, you're wasting our time, Doc. And my blood, sweat, and tears are in that building. A lot of these people talk about this and that, and a lot of fans say, man, are you the right guy for it? For me, I'm the right guy for it because I've laid it on the line to set that foundation. So when it comes down to that, I got a vested interest in this deal, and I don't want to see it diminish in any way, shape, form, or fashion. We got a top-tier quarterback. We got some guys that can fly around. Now it's time to put somebody in there that makes sense and that understands this game from top to bottom, not just the X's and O's, not just a scout, not one of these guys who just happen to know somebody. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing it. This is the culture, and this is a part of what we're doing. Period. Point blank.
The more I talk to you, the more I buy in because you keep on saying things that I completely agree with. And one thing you just said, that just harks back onto what we've seen for the past 5 to 6 years, is that people continuously to make this thing harder than what it has to be.
It's not hard, man.
At the end of the day, at the very end of the day, this is a game. Yeah. This is a game. Like you say, you 11 line up here, you 11 line up here, the best person wins.
That's it.
Point blank. Like that's exactly all it is. People keep on trying to reinvent the wheel when you don't have to. And then when you start doing that, you start making things more complex, that's how you get into the trouble you in. That's when you got to start trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. And that's the reason why you end up having to give up the best receiver in the league for a bag of pennies. Like for absolutely nothing. Like you said earlier, a hot Dr. Pepper and a bag of Funyuns, because you trying to prove something when it's simple. He's the best guy on the field. He's the best receiver. You have a franchise quarterback. That's all you need. Let them play. Let them do what they do, and you're gonna be good. You don't have to do all that extra. Like if you go back and look at the Thanksgiving Day game, when they was out there doing things that the kids do in the backyard, throw the football back to each other, then throw it across the field, score a touchdown. Simple. Simple. Kids out there having fun playing football. Right. When you do that, what happened? The Texans rolled over and had a dog victory. That's what happened. But but people constantly want to make this thing more complex and more hard than what it got to be, and it's really not even that type of party.
Bro, it's not. It's not. If you sit down and you really look at this thing is really simple. You look at everything from an optimistic standpoint and you change your perspective on it. You got a championship caliber team. You know, we have some pieces that we got to get fitted in there, and it's got to be the right caliber of athlete, and it's got to be the right caliber of people in their front office. And when you have an entire organization that's having fun, I mean, this is everybody from interns to records management and keeping and anything. If they're having fun and they're really into their job, that's when the passion and the purpose comes through. And that's what a lot of people are really getting from me. This is passion and purpose, and I got a plan, and you got to understand that this isn't just because I want the popularity, I want the fame, I want people to do this. Man, I could care less about that. I don't care nothing about that. What I care about is the aspect of making sure that we do right by the city, we do right by these players, and we do right by this organization. Bob McNair gave me an opportunity, and I promised him whatever I did was going to be a reflection of that. He didn't have to give me an opportunity, but he did, and those are the things that I look at when I sit down and I'm in front of folks each and every day. I'm up early in the morning and I'm consistent. And you got people that are, they hit the laugh button, or the people that are hey, he'll never get hired. Man, every scout in the NFL told me that when I was coming in the first time. So I don't listen to that for the simple fact that I know what this thing is and I know what it can be, and I know how to go get it because I've done it before. Have I won a Super Bowl? No. Do I have all the front office experience? No, but I know where to go get it because they're coming through the door with me. So that's what people got to understand. It's not about what I've done, it's what I'm doing. So if you look at what I'm doing right now in this 10-month span, I have set this thing up to where I can cover my salary, cover the head coach's salary when he comes in, and also cover the rest of the salary for Bill O'Brien in the 2023, just from the work that I put in. So you got to understand, this is a dynamic that's coming to the table from a business schematic, coming to the table from a former player schematic, and coming to the table from a fan schematic. So we got a three-headed monster that's trying to get in that door. So all we got to do is work together, and we'll go get that Super Bowl. I promise you that.
Already. Man, I appreciate having you on, man. It's always good talking to you. It's always good putting that plan together. Like I said, hey, again, Houston. Look no further. I know you gotta do your formalities. You gotta interview these. I understand that. Again, I'm always an advocate of talk to as many people as you talk to, get as much information as you possibly can. But you don't gotta look no further because the guys right here, man. Like the guys right here. Anything else you want to say, man?
Man, I appreciate you, Doc. I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity and giving me the time to really dig deep into this thing, man. Because you were one of the first guys that really got it. And I deal with all the guys that get it, and who will take the time out to really figure this thing out, figure out what I'm doing, and just really get entrenched with how deep this rabbit hole is and this plan is. When people actually get a chance to see this, it's only so much I can give you on these interviews because we got a lot of the popular people that they pulling from what I'm doing.
Yeah. You got eyes everywhere. People watch.
Right. And I'm doing it on purpose because when I'm on social media, that's timestamped. So if you come in and this isn't the recipe that you put together, you're going to tell on yourself. And that's the part of being strategic. This is the art of war. So this for me is serious. So I'm dropping jewels every once in a while, and I'm listening to guys as they're on TV. I'm listening to guys in these interviews, these different things that they're doing. And the same thing I've been talking about since day one are the things that they're now starting to talk about. And they're stuttering and they're stammering with what they're saying because that ain't coming from the heart. This right here is from the heart. So I tell people all the time, man, just go search me out. Go to change.org, put in the search bar Garrick Jones. That petition will pop up. Man, sign that thing and share it with your people. That's all we need. That's it. It's just hashtag GJ for GM. And we got a lot of people fighting for it, man. And I appreciate all the fans that have bought into this thing and that are posting in each and every day, man. I see you. We able to track that. And those are the people that I'll be bringing in on this fan advisory board when we come through the door. And those are the people, when you put the work in, like I say, eventually your dues will pay you if you pay your dues. And this is what it's about.
Already. I appreciate having you on, man. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, comment below, click that bell, get more videos. Hey, remember,